This meeting is being recorded.
Awesome.
All right, we should be good now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vanya, and this is Allan.
Hi. And we're going to do this together. We've already started so that we don't have to hold you back. We've got some water boiling, and we're going to, first step, we're going to take some of this broccoli and we're going to put it in the salted boiling water.
So yeah, salt. How much salt in there? It's kind of like a little bit of a palm full of coarse salt. And let me just show you what's happening.
And for this, for the purposes of this meal or dish today, we're only going to use the florets. We're going to keep the rest of the stuff because we can use it for something else tomorrow or the next day. Stir fry probably, but the florets, we want to soften them up a little bit because we're going to make a paste with them. And they're going to steam.
Is that pot big enough?
Yeah, it's, well, it could be bigger.
Could have been bigger.
Yeah, but it's okay. It'll do the thing. The steam will get it. In fact, I know what to do. We'll cut off these and we'll make some steam happen.
So for the recorded session, I think we missed the intro of this being about peas and pastes.
Right.
And I don't know if it was subconscious or not, but I actually wore a pea-colored sweater today in honor of the session.
There you go.
So,
So while this is boiling, boiling, what we're going to do is Vanya is going to show you how to make the pesto, and I'm going to, in the meantime,
let's just show them this.
saute a little bit of arugula that I've already cut up. So just cut up a little bit because ultimately it's all going to go in a food processor to make our paste, which is going to be the base for more than one meal. Today, it's going to be, the paste is going to be the basis for a sauce that will cover quinoa. But if you're having pasta tonight, it's just as good with any kind of pasta that you like. So it's going in here.
So chopped up arugula. So how much is that? Would you say like
A handful.
I guess a handful. Exactly a handful.
Exactly a handful.
Sauteed with oil,
Yeah, because
olive oil.
Yeah, because arugula is pretty strong. And remember, we still have peas. The peas are going to presumably be the predominant taste. So we're going to put a little bit of garlic. This is not my thing. I did it. So just put some of the arugula in here, just no longer than a minute. And that's sort of going to be happening on the side while Vanya teaches you how to make the pesto. And use the mortar and pestle.
I'm the mortar and pestle girl. Okay. So I'm going to go over here or here.
Yeah.
Well, Allan, I guess what we do is we begin with, if you have one of these beautiful stone mortar and pestles, that's really the best way to make and the most traditional way to make pesto. And the reason for that, instead of using a Cuisinart, is that breaking up these cells of the basil leaves actually releases a lot more of the oils and flavors of the basil. And so first of all, I'll just show you a little trick in terms of getting the basil leaves ready for the mortar and pestle. And I've got some freshly picked basil here. And what I do with the larger leaves is I try to remove as much of this hard stem as possible because that'll sort of be a little bit stringy. So what I do is just fold the leaf like this so that the inside is on the inside. And then just pull at the stem so that as much of it, the hard bit kind of comes off. And there you go. And so you just keep doing that. And
I'd like to add one thing. That's okay. They don't have to see me. They can hear me. to add one thing. It's not hyperbole to say that the mortar and pestle is really worth it. It's so much better than Cuisinart. And even though you think Cuisinart or food processor is easy and simple, if you factor in the time that it takes to clean it later and to put all the parts, to take all the parts apart and to wash them and clean them, this is the easiest thing. And in fact, we forgot to do one thing. It's my fault. No, yeah, put some salt in there. If you chop it up just a little bit, if you just roughly chop it up, there's already some extra surface tension that allows you to use the mortar and pestle. Put the salt at the bottom.
Yeah, just nice. I like coarse salt because it acts kind of like a grinding stone.
And remember, in the meantime, we have the arugula cooking and the basil cooking.
Of course, you don't need to do it at this angle, but I'm just trying to show you without having an aerial camera in our kitchen studio. That's not a studio. So you see that you start getting that beautiful green juice coming out, which smells gorgeous as well. That beautiful fresh basil smell is being released.
And there it is. Less than 1 minute on the flame, well, maybe a minute and a half or two, just to soften up the arugula, a little bit of garlic slivers, and that's going to go into the paste later.
Sorry, just a quick question. Is that for the pesto? Is that for the sauce that we're making with the broccoli?
This is just a paste. This is just for pesto. We're going to add olive oil, a little bit of garlic, which brings me to another subject that is a favorite, is when people tell you, in some recipes, they tell you about 1 clove or 2 cloves. Well, look here. Here's 1 clove, and here's another clove. You see, so forget the measurements. Just if you like garlic, put a little extra. If you don't, put a little less. We're going to put some garlic in here. And in a second, I'm going to check on the broccoli.
You want me to do this garlic?
Yeah, I would use.
How did I do here? Do you think I should go
Amazing.
more?
No, that's great.
This is great. Okay, I'll
Use
show
half of
you.
that garlic.
Show you where I'm at with the mortar and pestle garlic. Oops, I gotta tilt this. So that's what it looks like.
And a key thing in remembering really why we're here. We're not here to tell you about one dish or another. We're here to talk about a systematic way of thinking. So today is really an excellent example of how one preparation can be the basis for another 2 or 3 dishes. While the broccoli is softening in the boiling water, I will preserve that water after extracting the broccoli and use the same water to dunk some Swiss chard. I didn't get any spinach, but I got some fresh Swiss chard from the garden. I'll dunk that in. That'll add flavor to the water. Then I'll take that out. I'll put the peas in, drain the peas, and then that water will be used to cook the quinoa.
Did you just want the 1 little clove?
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you want me to add the olive oil now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Show them.
kind of feel like it's a big mortar and pestle for the amount of
Yeah,
basil we
it
had,
is.
right?
You're right.
In
That's why we have
fact,
the
there's more
little one. I
basil
forgot.
here, but
I should have taken that out. We had the little one by
do you
the
think,
side.
yeah, do you think I should add these at this point? Or-
No, it's okay. Just to
Yeah.
show them.
Okay, anyway.
Feel free to ask any questions if anything comes up. Okay, you want to put the thing on?
What
The
thing?
camera on here so we
Sure.
can show them.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm gonna take out, you notice how I put the heads in? I'm gonna take that out. It's pretty hot.
You have to have asbestos hands.
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, that's a
You're burning?
woman's job, yes.
Ah!
Ouch. Okay, there it is. So now the same water, which is already, you notice a little color. I'm now going to use, and this is what I do, by the way, whenever I buy or pick a bunch. I'll never just cook for one meal. So there's enough here for 2 meals. I'll just hold them by the end and I'll put them in and I'll keep my hand up on top. It's good for your skin too. And just let the green part be blanched, basically 1 minute, maybe even less than a minute. Once it's done like that, I'll add it to the arugula. I'll add the broccoli. We'll add some garlic. If you have some sauteed onions, that'll be good too, to add flavor. Obviously salt and pepper. See, there it is. They're wilted now, wilted. Take them to the cutting board. Well, maybe another half minute for the upper part. And take them to the cutting board. I'll cut off the pieces and literally, I guess 5 minutes, we have a paste that we need.
I was reaching for the cutting board and the camera went wonky. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Do you need the cutting board?
No.
No,
I don't.
okay.
I'll come over there. I'm just going to take, however, this is hot.
Oh, here.
Thanks.
Oh no, where did
Right
my
behind-
sons
just give me
put
the
them?
towel. Just give me a towel. Thank you. So here it is. Make sure we get all the water, because that water is beginning to taste good already. There it is. I'm going to lower the heat because we're going to put the peas in 1 second. In the meantime, Valerie, actually, you could put the peas in and I'll chop these up. You could just
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to cut whatever. I'm going to cut whatever is available. Just 3, 4
So how many
pieces.
peas would you say? I mean, it doesn't matter. We'll just do them all or half a bag
No, no.
or?
Yeah, half, maybe even less than half. What you don't want is you don't want these in the paste because they will not dissipate as well as the green parts and will not paste as well. But again, just like with the broccoli stems, you keep these because tomorrow or 3 days from now, you can chop them up and use them in a stir fry along with peppers, onions, whatever it is that you like to use in your stir fries. These parts are useful and delicious. Now I'm going to put this, okay, the peas are in. Okay.
Peas are in. And so you don't let the
Well,
water
how much-
boil, you put it on low.
No, I wanted it boiling first, but now I want it boiling. It's fine.
Okay. And there was a question?
How much of the peas did you add to it?
I put just less
How much?
than half a bag of frozen peas.
Where's
So-
I need a little more? Is it back in the freezer?
Oh, he's gonna put more, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, I see. I'd say about a cup.
All right,
I
Remember,
let's show you what's in the.
remember
pot.
one thing, never, that's one of the principles. You don't have to measure, you just get an idea. Okay, come to the thing, and I'll show you. basically, I would say it's about a cup, maybe a little more than a cup of the
A cup
frozen.
of peas?
Yeah.
All right. Good.
We're
Cup
gonna
of
I think
let-
there's a question online as well about
Okay,
the
go ahead.
pesto. So would adding pine nuts to the pesto sauce enhance the flavor or the texture?
Yes. Actually, there are two questions in there. Definitely enhance the flavor because it adds something. It's a nice balance, and it makes it creamier. As does cheese ultimately. You know, the how should I say, the proverbial pesto, the iconic pesto is the one that's called pesto genovese, which is from Genoa, or Ligurian pesto, and that has, by definition, pesto has pine nuts and Parmigiano Reggiano. But
For our purposes today,
yeah, exactly.
I have Parmigiano ready to go if we wanted to add it. Or are we
Anybody
just
wants to add it? It's just not necessary, and I'll tell you why. Because what I typically do when I make my pastes, and that's, I think, in your printout. If not, we can correct that. Give you another one. The reason I don't put the cheese in at the beginning is because it's more versatile right now. I can use it in all kinds of dishes where I don't want cheese. And if I want cheese, I can always add cheese to it or pine nuts later.
That's how it's
So,
looking
yes.
now, by the way.
So
It's
right
really
now,
nice.
it's a great condiment for a number of things. And if you add cheese and pine nuts, it would be more specific. Say, for example, on tomatoes, you know, it's a great thing. Same thing with arugula. By the way, we did a pesto here. Well, this is the pesto. I call them pastes because it's not correct to call anything other than basil pesto. So if we make arugula paste, which is the same method, everything is the same, except, again, I don't put any pine nuts or cheese at the beginning because sometimes, for example, I might want to use arugula paste with chili pepper and a little more hot pepper for something. I sometimes use it just with olive oil and garlic, and that's the basis. Always add anything that you want. You could grate some and mix it in, and it'll be the original or more traditional pesto. I'm going to check on the peas now.
Did you need me to cut carrots at all?
Yeah, you can cut them because we're going to put them in with the quinoa.
We're going to put it in with the quinoa. So I'm just going to take the equivalent of what would be one very skinny carrot.
The reason for that, by the way, is simply that when you're making quinoa, usually on the packages, they say, well, put it in water. Well, yes, it'll cook well with water, and whatever sauce is going to be used with it or dressing is going to enhance it. But it's always nice to have the quinoa itself taste good. And in order to do that, you can cook it in either stock or something anything that has more flavor than water. So when we cook our quinoa today, we will cook it in the water that had already hosted the Swiss chard, the broccoli, and the peas. So it's already going to have significant flavor. We're just going to put some carrots, which are
So
going to be nice.
you didn't want it diced up? Did you just want them in there more
No,
whole for flavor? You do want them small
I
so they
cut 'em-
combine with the
exactly.
quinoa? Okay, so I'm going to dice them very, very finely.
No, the way you have them right
Well, I
now,
would just
just
so
cut
let me,
them.
yeah.
Show up to them. The way that they are right now is we'll just cut them a little bit. Meanwhile, the peas are boiling, and I'm gonna cut what would you call them? The broccoli heads, the broccoli fronds? I don't even know.
flowers, florets.
The florets, there it is.
The florets. Sounds like a dance group.
Okay.
I only had baby carrots. I ran out of regular carrots.
Okay, so
So we
here,
make do.
just to give you an idea, what we're doing. Again, saving everything else for tomorrow or Wednesday or even Thursday, because it's been in boiling water. And if you put it in the fridge, it'll last easily 4 or 5 days. And I've had it much longer than that.
By the way, I wanted to just share something that maybe you all already know, but I know that it makes a real difference. Sometimes when I get people ask me when I serve broccoli in a meal, and I usually do, if I'm just boiling broccoli and serve it as a vegetable, I will keep the stems, and the stems will be part of it. I trim away the skin.
Yeah.
And that makes a really big difference for the softness. And it's just delicious. So that's just a little trick that I do. I really trim that skin right off.
Now I
We're
cut
keeping
one.
these for other purposes, but yeah.
Yeah, we're going to keep them for stir fry, but I just cut off this one little piece on top. This is probably the sweetest part of the broccoli. It's not going to serve us for the puree unless I really overcooked it, which I don't like to do. But keep it, like I said, keep it, and we'll have a
So this part
stir fry.
doesn't get involved in the paste,
No.
but is kept for stir fry for
These
another
here
day.
are going into the Cuisinart already.
Do you want me to get my Cuisinart?
Yeah.
You got it. Okay.
Well, you want to get the. Okay.
So are these really, really soft, like fall apart soft?
Pretty
Yeah, they
well,
are.
yeah, they're
They are.
pretty fall apart.
Yeah, they're really fall apart soft. Alrighty, we're gonna make some noise.
Wait,
And so that's already salted, so they're flavored. We're gonna add, we're adding more, yeah. So we're adding the sauteed arugula.
that has garlic in it, a little bit of garlic or more.
At your pleasure, and maybe others' displeasure. Haha.
As long as both, yeah, as long as both parties have had the same amount.
Right.
All parties. It's
If
cool.
everyone's eating the same amount of garlic,
Okay, you want to take a little bit. You know what would be good?
what would be good? Water?
If we added a little bit of olive oil
Ah,
and a tiny bit of butter. If you have any
oh,
butter,
I do.
that's-
I love butter.
Yeah,
Okay,
butter
so-
will make it creamier.
Got olive oil. A little bit more. Doesn't ever hurt to have, well, I guess you could have too much.
And I'm going to add the peas now. They've been cooking over there. I guess. Do we have a strainer?
We have a strainer
Okay,
for the
'cause I-
peas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I want to keep the water.
Is this too much butter?
No, perfect.
Okay. Oh, you want to keep the water?
Yes, and
Yeah.
the heat-
So you-
The heat.
Here we go.
Thanks.
So strainer there.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
The heat from the peas and from the broccoli will easily melt the butter and form a great paste for us.
Mhm.
And I can turn this off. Which I just did.
So now are we adding the peas
Yes,
to that?
we're adding the peas. Do you want to first maybe just lower?
Tamp it down
Yeah.
a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then put a tiny bit of the water.
Yes.
That's fine.
While you're doing that, I just wanted to reiterate to make sure everyone's following. So you put in the broccoli, the peas, the arugula with garlic, and
Right.
a little bit of water. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So add a bit of
Okay.
water.
Tiny bit of water.
Perfect.
There's olive oil. That's it. And now we
Oh, and olive oil.
we'll taste it because we probably add some salt, but I'll put some pepper in.
Mhm.
I'll put a little bit of pepper in.
Yeah, no, we'll just take that. There we go.
By the way, I have to tell you that this is probably, well, it is amusing for me. Oh, whoa, we forgot the
Oh.
the Swiss chard. We almost forgot the Swiss
Is
chard.
that the sauteed Swiss chard? Or
Yes.
boiled?
Just
That was
just
the-
flashed,
That was
blanched.
the one you stuck it in
Right.
and then you pulled
So,
it out,
Lindsay,
put it on the cutting board, and now you cut it up. Okay.
so Lindsay, just to add to what you said earlier, we have added the Swiss chard, which is the stand-in for spinach, right? We would usually
Okay.
use spinach or Swiss chard, by the
The
way.
spinach or Swiss chard. Okay.
Yes. The arugula is more for flavor, and
Mhm.
the Swiss chard is for flavor as well as goodness. And now we're going to make
Okay.
a little bit of noise.
I feel pulsed a little bit.
Yeah. And coming to the point about again the relevance to our whole, whatever you want to call it, philosophy, this paste, as I said before, is going to serve us for 2 or 3 different purposes. First of all, obviously today, which reminds me I should put the quinoa in, which I'm doing right now. Oh, I need the water.
Aye. And you're sure I won't need more water?
Yeah, let me give you some more water. Sorry, we're not showing perfectly well on the camera, but sometimes you just
Oh, this
gotta,
is in the way.
yeah.
Is
Oh, that's not gonna hurt.
that a little itty bit of garlic? Okay. More garlic.
More water.
We just see
Now
how we're
I'm
doing
gonna
here.
put the carrots in the quinoa, which is beginning to boil.
So, I mean, let's take a look at where we're at with this. I would add some more water, Alan. What do you think? Let me get this
I
on
would
camera.
add both.
Yeah.
Olive oil and water.
Yeah, I'm feeling like
Yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
quite getting creamy and blended.
Yeah. So here we are. And a little more oil. And in case nobody thought about it yet, this is probably the healthiest
Mm.
green sauce, if not any sauce you can
It's
imagine.
kind of like that green goddess, you know, but I don't know what's in green goddess, you know, the actual recipe, but I would feel like a goddess eating it.
I totally would have that as a little kind of ball on a bowl, you know, with quinoa. You can't hear me at all?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I could see this, you know, a scoop of it on a beautiful kind of, you know, poke bowl or something like that, or a salad, a bowl salad with quinoa or rice,
A dip,
whatever you
even
want.
a dip,
A
yeah.
dip, yeah.
And we haven't got to some of the other ones, but I'm going to show you. So basically, not that you can't imagine it, but the quinoa, well, if I knew how to do this, would be great. The quinoa is boiling with some carrots in it. I'm sure my ineptitude is falling through. Not quite, right.
you like it to have, you know, a bit of greenery like this, or do you want to
No, this is
completely
perfect.
blend it?
No,
Okay,
this is
perfect.
perfect.
Let's see.
And I have a question for the audience.
So it still has some of the, you see the herbs coming through or the greens coming through.
But you can tell the consistency.
Kind of like a nice hummus. Yeah.
And in case,
I got to taste it. Yeah. A little bit more. So it is like, you can crunch into the Swiss chard. I would almost do a little, blend it maybe a little bit more. Is that what you want?
whatever you think is right.
I might go a little bit
Taste it.
more.
Okay.
Yeah, but we don't need to
But
do
we
that
need
right
to
now.
do that right
Yeah.
now, exactly. So the idea with
that's really good.
multiple utility of that, as I said, today it's going to go and cover the quinoa, and we're going to enjoy it as a side dish to some fish that we're going to make.
Oh, so we are making that dish that I was
Yes.
saying, you know what this would be good for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's one thing. However, the beauty of it is that, as Vanya said, you could just use it as a dip. And the other thing is, it's a great starter for veggie burgers. If you add some lentils, in fact, some of the cooked quinoa, some lentils, and cornstarch, you could look up recipes online for veggie burgers. And basically, this would be a hell of a veggie burger with the addition of some lentils or chickpeas or beans and the rest of the stuff that binds it. One egg, that kind of stuff. Put it in the oven, either as individual or as a pie. Make a pie out of it without a crust.
So does this give it, like, because this is really nice and creamy, does this give that sort of burger the fat or the creaminess that, you might want from a meat product? Or
Well, that's where the
Or like its flavor.
beans and the hummus comes in. It's going to be very moist. And as I say, I think it's going to be delicious, and it will be one of the most nutritious non-meat burgers that you can ever have. Really good. And the other thing about it is that it will keep, as I said, 5, 6, 7 days in the fridge with no problem, the way it is right now. Having been cooked, it's got salt and oil. Just refrigerate it, and you can use it later on in the week as well.
you can even just keep it in this Cuisinart.
This is boiling meanwhile here.
The quinoa.
Quinoa. So we've done the paste. I wanted to ask one question of the participants. Has anybody tried to cook along or not? Well, if anybody cooked along, can we hear from you?
Where are you at?
No, I guess not.
No.
I can say I've been cooking along a little bit. I'm
Okay, well, that's
still
cool.
behind. I've cooked my broccoli. I'm almost done the peas.
Well, how
So I haven't put it all together yet.
How long have you had the peas in the hot water?
Probably like 2 or 3 minutes. I think they're almost.
Yeah, because I'm going to say,
like they were from frozen, but.
yeah, if they're frozen, 3-4 minutes is more than enough. Very, very good idea just to do that. And the reason I asked is because I'd be curious to know the reaction of people to the flavor and to the texture of this, which I find both to be quite agreeable.
I'm just looking at that pesto in the bowl as you're talking about that veggie burger and thinking about that,
Yeah, that's as a dressing. Yeah, exactly. Very good idea. Yeah.
Having a lot of food fantasies here.
Yeah, no, just
And I was going to ask a question. So I know you mentioned you could use it for a veggie burger base. So that would be, I'd imagine leaving it a little bit thicker versus having it as like a pasta sauce or as part of a salad or dressing or bowl sort of thing. Would you then recommend adding more oil or adding more of something else to make it a little bit more of a a sauce, or just keep it as is, as the thicker paste?
You mean, sorry, the question pertains to using it as a sauce?
No, if
Right.
you were to make this and want to use it to make veggie burgers, you'd probably want it less watery and
Yeah.
oily. You'd want it to be, formable in, for a patty. And then to reconstitute it
Right.
as a sauce, you might want to keep that vegetable broth or add vegetable broth if you have it, or water, or salted water,
Mhm.
and oil, I would say. Is
Yeah,
that-
no,
would
that
you-
you actually prompted both Vanya's astute take and a thought that I had. If I were totally on top of my game, I would have suggested earlier that at one point when Vanya said, well, do you want it a little smoother? I would have taken half of it out, which is the half that's going to be for burgers, and then added a little more water, a little more oil, and a little bit of stock. And we'll come to that in a minute, how to make this for the pasta or the quinoa as a sauce. But coming back to the burger side of it, remember, we will have taken it out. You don't care. In fact, you might prefer that it has a few more chunks in it. Remember?
Mhm,
So you
mhm.
did everything, you prepared everything, but it's going to kind of diverge at one point. One is going to be for, let's call it solid food, and the other one is more for baby food, for lack of a better term, for sauces, for purees. And the stuff for the burger will already be a little coarser. And then with the addition of, just from memory, what I do, for example, chopped mushrooms are very good for veggie burgers,
Yeah.
as are lentils or chickpeas or any beans that you like, but particularly chickpeas are good, and lentils are excellent. And if you add a little bit of cornstarch, as I said, you just have to look up a recipe on the web.
And check on the quinoa.
It'll take you 10 seconds. Thank you. Lower the heat, please. It'll take you 10 seconds to look it up. And I believe it's a little bit of cornstarch, and quinoa also is a good binder. And if you take the whole thing, and it's just like you mix your own burgers, if you do, you add an egg if you like, unless you're against eggs, and you have these patties which you can then cook either in low oil frying, or I found, I learned this from my son Josh. By the way, it's his idea. This whole pea paste, I must admit, is something that originated when he sought a way to have his son Tristan eat broccoli. He loved peas, but he didn't like broccoli. So he made this thing up, which I thought was fabulous. And like I said, if you put them in, and he also discovered the thing, put them on some wax paper, put them in an oven, and you don't need to fry them, just bake burgers.
There's a question on the chat as well about, can you freeze the paste or the sauce?
Yes, absolutely. Very good question. Terrific question. Absolutely. I always have a jar or Tupperware ready. I put some in, and when you put it in, after you put it down, remember, always leave a little space for the thing to expand so it doesn't, crack or overflow. But on the top of it, I put a thin layer of oil. That's one of the cardinal rules for freezing, obviously, savory things. You don't want to put it on top of strawberries, but if you freeze strawberries, you just freeze them for a smoothie or for some cooking. But if you want to freeze any of this stuff, pesto, even though it has oil in it, I put a thin film on top, because what the thin film of oil does is it prevents moisture loss and also prevents anything from coming in. It's great. And then when you take it out, it's going to be incorporated.
Prevents freezer burn too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, it prevents freezer burn because it prevents anything from coming in
Mhm.
and interacting with it. Or, which, by the way, freezer burn, I don't know that I've looked it up, but I bet you it's basically the result of loss of water.
Moisture loss.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you prevent moisture loss by putting oil on top, just a tiny bit.
Just like moisturizer for your face, right?
Okay, so this should be ready.
Quinoa's ready. Do you need a vessel?
No,
No?
because what we're going to do now I'm going to show you, we didn't have any, it doesn't matter, but
We didn't have any what?
we didn't have any stock ready, but remember, we have a little bit of the liquid left from the liquid left from the various vegetables that we used.
Yeah. Hard to see.
And
Yeah.
it's okay, I'm gonna put it in here. You can see if you do that. So now, I just gotta turn this thing on. So I'll put the water in here. A little bit of water. Ideally, it would be better if we had a little bit more, but it doesn't matter. Turn this off. I'm gonna put the quinoa that's still slightly moist. Just like when you do with pasta, when you make pasta, you are supposed to take it out if you want to flavor it with something, and you put it into the pan before it's perfectly cooked, because it's going to cook some more in the frying pan.
And with a bit of the pasta water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in this case, there's a little bit of the leftover water, and you can see both my lack of dexterity and our inexperience with cameras. We are both much better at cooking and eating than we are at demonstrating. Okay, so now you see it's coming on. I'm going to lower the heat. Totally lower the heat. And now I'm going to put some of this in. Oops. Okay, can you see that? Okay.
Hi, Al.
So far, I believe I've used less than, I may add some, but I've used less than a third. It actually looks nice too.
Nice
Hi,
to
Al.
know.
Hi.
One question about the paste. I know you've used frozen peas. Have you noticed a difference by using fresh peas from like a garden, or sometimes some grocery stores carry the fresh peas? Have you noticed a difference in taste or? Okay.
Yes, I prefer using the fresh. However, as I think I noted in the printout, peas and corn are the two things that suffer the least in freezing. So yes, I like fresh peas because I can pick them, well, especially the ones in your garden, or if you get them in the farmer's market, you can get the young ones, and they're sweeter. You know, they have less starch. They're just better. But usually the ones that you get frozen are, you know, better than sufficient.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Because questions often prompt additional thought and gives us an idea. Because as you asked that question, and don't ask me why, I had another idea, which is that not only is it good with green peas, but if some of you know, it's a little more exotic, a little more rare, but at this time of the year, there should be fava beans available in the market. And I want to tell you something. Fava beans are among the most delicious treats of summer. If you can get fresh green fava beans, do the same thing and make a paste which is predominantly fava greens and spinach, or fava beans and arugula.
what I love about fava beans is they have that smoky flavor to them. I don't know. I think it is
Yes,
very earthy, smoky.
there it is. See, and we've got more than half left over. I'm gonna say we could probably make about 6 veggie burgers or 7 with that. And this is a meal for 5. I mean, part of a meal for 5 people. Now, here's another couple of thoughts. In addition to what we've done here, so that's our cooking and that's the vegetable part of it. But this thing with grated cheese, or if you like, for example, well, bacon or the Italian cured pancetta, all of these things will just make this one level higher, a different taste, and possibly more attractive to kids who don't like veggies. And that's that.
Do you have any substitutes, or so I know there's I guess I have 2 questions. The first one would be based on, I know you mentioned frozen peas. Could this be made entirely with, let's say, frozen peas, frozen spinach, frozen broccoli? And the second part of that is, are there substitutes for, if you don't have those things, of maybe like substituting peas for beans or any green, that sort of thing?
Yes, absolutely.
What are the different options of substitutes?
That's also a very good question. And the whole idea, again, behind this theory and this practice in the kitchen, which you've basically illustrated now, the idea of mindfulness, the idea of strategic cooking. Yes, you can substitute anything. For example, the spinach, I've substituted Swiss chard. You can use kale. You can use fava beans, as I just said, instead of the peas. You can make a sauce or a paste with chickpeas. You can make a hummus dressing for pasta. For example, from the hummus or the chickpea paste, I would use that with more, say, something like tomatoes and a little bit of hot pepper. So it would be different. Because I don't think the chickpeas would be that compatible with broccoli, but I haven't tried it. I'm sure it would be good. You never know. Like I'm saying, I usually associate chickpeas with garlic and tomato and peppers. But in fact, I'm going to try, being, in my own way, challenged by what you said. I'm going to try, because I think chickpeas would work really well with arugula, and broccoli can't do any harm. Broccoli is sweet and useful. And the other thing that I would also tell you, which again, your question brought to mind, when you buy salad at a market or in the store, I would say typically, I can't imagine an exception to it. There's always 2 or 3 or 4 leaves on the outside that are just a little wilted, that are not really all that great. I don't mean rotten. I mean just less than what you'd like to see on your salad plate. I always take these and I put them in a freezer bag. And when I have enough of them, guess what? I use those.
What?
I chop them up. And I use them with peas in a similar treatment, except I don't puree them. I make a soup, or I make like a nice saute of lettuce leaves, peas, spring onion, and a little bit of garlic.
But you don't puree that. That's
I
just
don't
kind
puree
of
that.
sauteed.
No.
What about, this is staring me in the face as
Yes.
we're talking about alternatives.
Exactly.
here.
Yeah. There it is. I lost.
Because this is a larger zucchini than you would want to just, let's say, steam.
Yes.
Right. So this is getting into making
I'll
soups.
show you. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Why don't I show you?
it's the forgotten zucchini in the garden. Oops, it's
Yeah.
2
So
days too.
It's
too
big. But it's okay.
Yeah.
I've done. We have a schedule a scheduled Zoom on zucchini, but
Mhm.
just to show you, if you take this slightly older zucchini and just take
He's
this
taking
part,
the marrow out.
take the marrow
Yeah.
out.
Let's show this.
Okay, I've taken the marrow out, and I would peel this because this zucchini
It's a bit hard.
is hard.
Yeah. That's
But
fine.
again, just use a regular peeler, and this would be excellent both as an addition to the stir fry, which we talked about a couple of times earlier, or if you do cook it a little longer in that stock, it can be pureed. Thanks, Vanya. That's a great idea. You could
Yeah.
use this as a part of the puree, easily substituting for the broccoli, but without the skin.
Because with my kids, the two vegetables that they both would eat, because, one liked green beans, the other one didn't, one like, but the two vegetables they would both eat was broccoli and zucchini. So
Yeah, no,
they're,
that's,
they're out of that now. They eat most everything, but that would have been a sweet spot for me to.
yeah, no,
combine
that's
those in
great. I'm
different
glad you
way.
remember. That's why I brought it, just to show a substitute, but I forgot. I'm not working from a script, as you can
Oh,
probably
really? You were
tell.
planning that?
Yeah,
I just saw.
I know,
Karen.
that's what I said. It was great.
impromptu. Yeah.
I was semi-planning that. That's why I brought it. Anyways, so we're going to eat that later. And as I said, feel free. What I would do, seriously, if any of you are particularly lovers of bacon or cheese, just grate some cheese on it, or fry a little bit of bacon, chop like little pieces of bacon or pancetta, and mix it in with that.
Okay, wait. What about the pesto? Is that getting added?
No, the pesto is not going
What's
to
the
add.
pesto for?
You
I'm
could
not.
use, yes.
What about
Hello?
putting, when you're done,
Yeah.
adding some peas, like fresh whole peas in it?
Great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my God.
For texture.
You're right. Guess what? You reminded me of, Vanya reminded me of something I forgot earlier. And now you remind me of something. I actually brought these with me from my garden. And that's exactly what, thank you, Rachel. This thing here is what I would do exactly. I would then take some peas, whether they're frozen or fresh, and I would add them to the quinoa as you're serving it. Thank you so much.
Okay, so why do we make the pesto? Just to
Because
show
part of-
something
yeah,
else?
just, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we
That
can
has-
still use the pesto. You can still use the pesto.
I want to
as a-
eat
as
the
a
pesto.
dressing.
That's why. I'm like,
You
wait a
can,
minute.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
the fresh peas are great in there.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Thanks. And by the way, here's another, again, one idea breeds another. Later on in the season, okay, I think you all know, and probably like me, are excited about the arrival of Ontario corn. You take corn
Yeah.
and you take corn kernels and you add, after you've cooked it, like almost just
Yeah.
slightly cooked corn, and you add it on, gives you texture and another dimension of
Yeah.
taste.
For sure.
So thanks, double thanks for the question, because number one, the peas, I forgot.
Should I add these to the mix?
Yeah, well, we'll serve it. No, I'd add that on top when you're serving, or you can cook a few and do that. But I would not cook them long. If they're fresh peas, remember, we can eat peas raw.
Yeah.
So
Nice
again,
little
thanks for
pop
that
in your
question.
mouth.
And any other questions? Please help us. I know it's coming to an end, but I'm running out of ideas here. Okay.
Well, what about, so what's coming in? So there's going to be zucchini coming up?
Yeah, there's another session, presumably zucchini and some other stuff. Then there's a tomato, what to do when you have lots
Too
of
many tomatoes. Well, yeah, because that's the thing.
Potatoes,
You can
yeah.
get too many zucchini.
Yeah.
And definitely tomatoes kind of come all at once. So that's great.
And that's why maybe for the next time we should emphasize that people should consider cooking along, because it's more productive and you can taste how good this is. But again, coming back to what Vanya said about the pesto thing, it was an idea to give you, because here, this pesto that we made will be frozen. What we don't eat today will be frozen either in an ice cube or a little Tupperware container, and it could be used as long as 2 weeks, or I should say 2 months from now. And the reason that we made it and we wanted to talk about it is because right now basil is at its prime. So you could take some and use it in a way that will prolong its utility and your pleasure without having to buy basil in, say, October or November, where it's both costly and not as good because it's not as fresh. And that's my story for today. Do you have anything to add?
I've just added the dates for signups to the chat. So if anyone's interested in, so there's one more August 31st that I know some of you are already signed up for on zucchini and garlic. And then we just added signups as well for the August dates. I believe August 14th.
You said August, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. You meant July 31st.
Oh, did I say August? Yes, July 31st, sorry, in 2 weeks from now. And then there's some new ones in August as well. So if you just click that link and then just add the dates, you can submit a second one. And then we'll know that you're coming to those as well. So yeah, if you enjoyed them, we'd love to see you again. But yeah, if anyone has any other questions, or if anyone made something that they want to share, that would be great. Can we see your final product of the quinoa?
Yeah, sure. Here it is. And remember, with some
see how
whole
it matches
peas, yeah,
me?
look at how it matches. with some whole peas, or later on in the season with corn, additional color and additional flavor.
Beautiful. I'm getting so hungry.
It's actually good. And I'm not joking.
You don't look like you're joking.
No.
It's making you laugh. It's so
It
good.
is. It's really good, yeah. So there
I
it
have a
is.
little question.
Okay.
I have only a very small mortar and pestle. Could
Right.
could I use this just in the bottom of a bowl?
Look, we had a big one here.
Too big.
It was actually too big. The smaller ones work better for most things. And yes, I very good idea, by the way. I sometimes will use, depending on my needs. In fact, if I'm traveling and I haven't found a mortar and pestle, I'll use, everybody has these. And it's not as good because.
And what do you use as your mortar? Like you just try to find something?
I'll tell you what I'll tell you in a sec. Yeah,
like
what I use, I'll either use a spoon to squish it, or what I've also done is I've taken a small jam jar and I turned the jam jar upside down. I don't want to hit glass. I use the cap and I use some salt as the abrasive medium, because this is not as abrasive not at all, on the side. The idea of mortars, I should say pestles, is that they're abrasive on the side, right? So everything gets kind of scratched and macerated. But if you have something smooth, use salt and coarsely ground black pepper. And I used either, like I said, I've used the jam jar, or here, see? Just hit it with the bottom or the top of an old spice jar. How's that for thinking on your feet? Thank you for that question.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I've done that in Italy many times.
Airbnb.
Yeah.
Mortar and pestle isn't one of the basics.
Exactly. They don't provide mortars and pestles in Airbnbs. So I've used that. Thanks for the question again. Good idea. We done? I think it's over. Right?
Yeah, unless anyone has any last questions.
No, I was just looking at the time. I thought maybe they timed us out. Does anybody have any prior to last questions? Okay, well then it was fun, but we're all going to run. So